Ying T.
We're live. This is Holy Joe Rock and Roll breaking news. There's an active shooter been reported at YouTube in, I think it's Bruno, California, not too far from Santa Clara. It's in Silicon Valley where YouTube is headquartered. An active shooter. Now, will a good guy with a gun stop the active shooter? That's the question. Don't know. What are the motives of the shooter? Did the shooter take any hostages? Did the shooter put YouTube in a limited state? Is it a YouTuber who's the active shooter? Maybe a disgruntled ex-employee or perhaps a disgruntled YouTuber. I don't know. Obviously, YouTube has been censoring a lot of content, censored mine, put my stuff in limited state, deleted a couple of my videos. I did have a strike a while back, 90-day ban on going live, which I've now continuing to go live whenever I can. I haven't been live for about a week or so because I've been doing some other important work. But I just flashed on my phone, active shooter at YouTube, and I said, what? Say what? Is this karma? You know, I'm thinking, is this karma? You know, what you put out there is what you get back. Was this a target? You know what I mean? Was YouTube the target, or was it a person who worked at YouTube? I mean, these are all the questions that nobody can answer at this point because nobody knows. The only question that we can ask is, will a good guy with a gun stop the bad guy? And will that be the story, or will the story be on gun control? You know, when gun control debate comes to YouTube, what will be the story? Because I'm fascinated by this story. There's little details about it on the news, in the news. Just that there was an active active shooter reported at YouTube headquarters in Silicon Valley, California, which is San Bruno, California. Not too far from Santa Clara, where I used to live and work in Silicon Valley. A very depressing place if you're a straight white guy. I'm just saying, be honest, guys. Be honest. If you work there, you know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, I digress. So what's the motivation? Well, that's really the point. That's really the key. Is the shooter on psychotropic drugs, the SRA inhibitors, right? Because we know that a side effect of the SRA inhibitors, which is supposed to be an antidepressant drug, actually makes people go crazy and want to kill people. Why would you take drugs if you're depressed? Get some fresh air, get some sunshine, make some friends, stop drinking, stay off the drugs, and tell that ex, and forgive that ex-girlfriend. Just forgive her. You know, she went with dorkhead with the nose ring and the tattoo on his ass. Who cares? Just let it go, baby. Let it go, okay? You forgive, you shall be forgiven. That is the word of God, okay? Anyway, you got to get right with God, people. Cancer doesn't make you sick. Being sick gives you cancer. And it's really about what we eat, what we think, and how we deal with stress that causes cancer. So you can see that with the shootings, something is sick. There's a sickness. Now the shootings are maybe a symptom of that sickness, but it's what we eat, what we drink, what we think, and how we deal with stress that is causing this craziness. And unfortunately, a lot of these social ills can be traced back to the breakdown of the family, which can be traced back to the sexual revolution of the 60s. And really, it's all been documented that this has been a government. I don't want to say government. It's been, although government has been involved, it has been a concerted effort by the powers that be, the globalists, if you want to call it that, to break up the Christian strongholds, being honestly, really the Catholic strongholds that were taking shape in the United States. Look, think about it. John F. Kennedy became the first Catholic president in 1961 or 1960, and that was probably the height of Catholic power in the United States. Most of the urban areas, most of the big cities were enclaves of different Catholic communities, like a German Catholic community, Polish, whatever you want to, Italian, Irish. They were all communities of predominantly Catholics. Okay, obviously there was Protestants in other places, in other big cities, but a lot of these, like Detroit, I'm thinking of Detroit, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. Hey, what's happening? Someone said hello, AlphaGo. All these big cities, and Catholic power was feared by both the WASP elites, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, who had been the predominantly power group in the United States, and also the Jews. Let's just be honest. This is all explained in Slaughter of Cities by E. Michael Jones. I bring that up because I just recently was reviewing some of that stuff. And that's really the beginning. So to break up these enclaves, what do? They, the blacks were used to break up these enclaves. Blacks from the South were moved up to these northern cities to block bust. They called it block busting, to break up these. Yeah, man, it's not a mistake. This is a plan. This was a plan to break up these parishes, these Catholic communities. I'm just being honest, because Catholics, when you were in a community, people were peaceful. We had Irish community, Italian communities. I remember I lived in Bridgeport, Chicago for a while, and that was an Italian-American Catholic community, and they had standards. I was there, let's call it the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, early 90s. And it was still, listen, they didn't want any black people living in their neighborhood. And it was probably one of the last remaining, I don't want to say all white because there were Asians living there. There was basically no blacks. And they just didn't want their neighborhood to be destroyed as other neighborhoods had been destroyed. Nothing bad about your average African-American who could be a good person. But the problem was that when socioeconomic crises happened, these neighborhoods went bad. They went bad. And what happened was, the whole blockbusting idea was a white family buys a house for a black family. They moved in the black family, and then the realtors would go out and say, hey, you got a black family living next to you, bring the fear up. You better sell your house before the prices crash in this neighborhood. And this created a white flight from the urban areas, from the cities, forcing them to buy new houses in the suburbs, and then the realtors would buy these houses up for a song and sell them to black people at a profit. That was the big scam. That was the big scam, and so people made money off of this, but also, again, it was to break up these ethnic enclaves, mostly Catholic ethnic enclaves. But they weren't just Catholic. They were also Protestant enclaves. I think Germantown in Philadelphia, I don't know if those were German Catholics or German Protestants. A lot of Protestants came to the U.S. that were German. Doesn't matter. There were also Catholic Germans, of course, that came. Anyhow, that's really the beginning of all this stuff. Really, the breakup of these ethnic communities that were peaceful, that were together, and they did vote in a block, and they were funny that they were Democrats, right? Working class Democrats for the most part, who voted for JFK, that these people wanted to destroy, and they were successful in doing that, and in doing so, also then brought along the sexual revolution, which is all about control. Libido Dominati, another book by E. Michael Jones. He's a great author in terms of explaining the social warfare, the social experiment, if you will, that was conducted against the American people. And you see the same tactics being used in Europe today. Oh, that's the point. Same tactics being used today with the migrant crises. Bring in millions of unvetted, I'm not comparing them to African Americans who may or may not have been, vetted. Bring in millions of unvetted migrants to destroy neighborhoods, to create white people to flee, destroying their neighborhoods, destroying the family, rape gangs running wild. I just saw that over 1,000 French people signed a petition asking for help against these teenage Muslim gangs, violent gangs that are roaming the street, causing all kinds of havoc. So the reaction to the social, listen, look, let's look at the timeline. The reaction to the breakup of the family part of that plan was the sexual revolution. The reaction to the sexual revolution was feminism, right? The reaction to feminism is MGTOW, and also this new conservative movement, which we're seeing worldwide, where people are basically tired of this leftist agenda and the nonsense that feminists, the third wave feminists have brought, right? And it's just coming full circle. And I believe that message retracted. What's that? Message retracted. I don't know why that is. But anyhow, I don't know how this is going to end peacefully, is what I'm getting at. You know, we look at the big picture. There's a conflict coming. It's coming. You feel it. You feel it. You feel that there's a conflict coming. The good thing is that the people on the right, traditional people, I would say Christians, religious people, yeah, the wheels go round, baby, are going to have the upper hand, because obviously people on the right are pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, pro-free speech, whereas leftists, libtards, soy boys tend to be, don't know what a gun is, don't know which end of a gun to hold, which end of a gun to look into. Don't do that, by the way. Which end of the barrel to look into or look down. And they're weak. They're weak. And we'll see, man. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Anyhow, so just recapping, I'm doing a major renovation in my office, redesigning everything, the layout. I'm going to probably have a U-shaped desk structure. We'll see. I don't know. I'm working on it right now. You can see right there, there's a little bit of a cluster F right there inside, behind the scenes. But I'm working on it, and hopefully I'll be finished tomorrow, and we'll get back onto a regular schedule of broadcasts. But anyhow, active shooter at YouTube. Again, no information. So I sound like mainstream media, right? There's no updates. It's just repeating of the same shit. There's an active shooter on the YouTube campuses or headquarters in, I want to say, Bruno, California, which is in Silicon Valley. No information given. The question is, will a good guy with a gun stop a bad guy with a gun? Okay? Guns don't kill people. Stupid people kill people. Or depends on what the purpose of the killing is, right? But anyhow, you know what I'm talking about, people. Have a great post-Easter. Happy spring. Today was beautiful weather here in Poland. I think it was like 12 degrees centigrade. Did a little bit of planting. Planted some Jagoda, which is kind of like a wild blueberry. And that's also keep me busy. So finally we got some warmer weather. One of my cars that was not working, I finally got working. So things are starting to look good. Starting to look good for me, all right. Listen, everybody, have a great evening or a great afternoon. If I get some updates, I'll probably do a more in-depth analysis of the YouTube shooting once we have more information. Until then, this has been Holy Joe Rock and Roll, reminding you to always make it happen for the captain. Oh, here we go. Female suspect in YouTube headquarters shooting is dead. It was a female. People, it was a female, according to CNBC. Just flashed on the screen. I was ready to shut down. A female shooter. Oh my God, they say women don't shoot. It's always white males. It's always white males. And now we find out it's a female shooter and she's been taken down. She's been taken down. So anyway, as soon as I have more information, probably tomorrow, I'll do an update on this. This has been Holy Joe Rock and Roll in the news, reminding you to always make it happen for the captain, baby, because you're the captain.